Hey there, welcome to Craft Central Designs. Today I have for you this adorable Easter bunny decor piece. Oh my goodness, I am loving the absolute cuteness of this one, and I hope you do as well. This was very inexpensive to create. Some materials from the Dollar Tree, bunnies only $1.20 each from Hobby Lobby, scrapbook papers at 40% off from Joann's, and ribbons from Walmart. We'll talk more later about material substitutions. I hope you feel inspired to create this really adorable Easter decor piece. Welcome to all to my channel today. Please remember to subscribe if you are not currently, and share this video tutorial with others if you will, and give this video a thumbs up if you enjoy the tutorial. And as always, your questions and comments are always welcomed. Okay, let me show you how I created this adorable Easter bunny decor piece. Let's look at the items you will need to create this piece. I have here the 3 bunnies, and these bunnies are from Hobby Lobby. They're around $1.20 a piece, which I think is very reasonable. They're very thick. They stand up on their own. And they're very easy to find because it's pretty much a standard item in the Easter department at every Hobby Lobby that I've been into. So, yeah, those are really cute. Very cute to cover with scrapbook paper. All right, this is one of those beaded, I guess you call it a tray, from the Dollar Tree. Now, if you can't find this piece, you could, or maybe you would want to consider taking a couple of those 12-inch long wood pieces that are very easy to find, glue them together, and put feet on it. And you could do a long, narrow platform for the bunnies. That would work as well. So I'm going to be using these wood cubes that are sold in the Crafter's Square section from the Dollar Tree. You could as well use Jenga blocks and create feet. You could use wood beads, or you could use the little wood cubes and create feet from the Crafter's Square section at the Dollar Tree. I have here some scrapbook papers. And I actually got my scrapbook papers this week at Joann Fabrics because, as you may have heard, Joann's is going out of business. And unfortunately, for me, I happen to love those scrapbook papers that they have at Joann's. I do love Hobby Lobbies as well. Yes, I do. I know I always talk about Hobby Lobbies, but they have a line of scrapbook papers that I love at Joann's. It's a very sturdy, heavy scrapbook paper. So I decided to go there and try and stock up a little bit while things are going on clearance at Joann's. They were only 40% off so far, but in the weeks to come, I'm sure that number will increase. I'm showing you here some different options. You could do this piece in yellows. You could do it in orchids. You could mix up your colors and do pink and yellow and orchid. You can use polka dots or gingham check. You could use scrapbook paper with little flowers on it, like that piece right there. And I was looking at, this came from Joann's actually, and I was thinking that piece and that piece would go really great together. One has daisies, the other one has flowers. Yeah, I thought that would go really well. Love the orchids with the polka dots. There's a burlap colored gingham check. I got that one at Joann's as well. If you wanted to do a farmhouse theme, you could do your bunnies covered with burlap colored burlap, yeah. And you could do it with one of them with the scrapbook paper and the gingham check in that color as well. So just trying to offer you options and ideas. So, of course, I'm going to be using ribbons on this piece. Now, I always collect my ribbons in a little bin, anything I think I'm going to use. And a lot of my narrow ribbons that I collect are from Walmart. They're in the sewing department. Love their ribbons. I have that really cute bunny print ribbon from Hobby Lobby. I am going to be using that. This particular ribbon has butterflies on it. So pretty. That's in the spring shop at 40% off at Hobby Lobby. I'm going to be using that white ribbon I just showed you with the stitching, as well as this ribbon, which I adore. That is from Walmart, and it has little white flowers on it. I just love it. I do use a plain white satin ribbon as well as this very narrow satin ribbon, all of which are from Walmart. All of my narrow ribbons, that's where they come from. If you're ever in Walmart and you're just kind of browsing around, be sure you go through the sewing department or the craft department and look at the ribbons. They're really worth the purchase because they come in so handy on so many projects. I went to the paper studio at Hobby Lobby. Yeah, I went to Hobby Lobby this week. No surprise there. I'm always at Hobby Lobby every week. But I went to the paper studio and I got some more of those little tiny flowers. I got yellow and pink and white. I also have a little package of very teeny, tiny little black buttons that I got in the sewing department at Hobby Lobby. And I have here my floral wire, both of which that I purchased at the Dollar Tree. It's a 26 gauge wire. You'll need black for the whiskers, and I use silver for creating my bows. Now I have some wood half rounds. Probably I got these probably on Temu. I think every now and then I do a Temu order, but you could get them on Amazon. You could get them at Hobby Lobby. You'll need those for the nose. I want to say it's like a 1/4 inch, but I'm going to have to check that and I'll put it in the description box. I have there some wood eggs that I got in the Crafter's Square section, in the Easter section at Dollar Tree. They're little plain wood eggs. I'm going to be painting those. That Excelsior that I showed you there in the bag, that's from Hobby Lobby. You're going to need Aleene's tacky glue, scissors, and a pencil, of course, to trace around your bunnies on the scrapbook paper. So I'm going to go ahead and paint this beaded tray from the Dollar Tree. Now, you're going to see me do kind of like a whitewash over it. Not really trying to cover it, just putting a scant amount of paint on my brush and just doing like a light coat. Now, this is great for a farmhouse look or the farmhouse style or rustic or even country style. That's up to you if you want to do it like that. But I'm showing you that this is very doable and very suitable for this piece. I, however, decided to spray paint mine. After I did this, I'm just showing you, this is how you could do it. I took mine outside and I spray painted the tray and the wood cubes for the feet. I also took my wood eggs and I put them on a piece of painter's tape, and I took those outside and spray painted them white. A little bit easier than trying to paint them by hand. So now it's time to prepare my bunnies. So just a word of warning, at the bottom of these scrapbook papers from Joann Fabrics, or Joann's, whatever we're calling it these days, they have a little white strip of paper on the bottom. Just be sure you cut that off and don't make the mistake like I have multiple times where I just turn my scrapbook paper over, not paying attention, draw out my design, cut it out, turn it over and realize, yeah, that white strip of paper was included in my piece that I cut out. So I learned my lesson, and now I cut it off every time. So I traced around my bunnies. I'm covering the front and the back. I'm doing one with a flowered print, one with a very small pink plaid, and one with polka dots. Is that not adorable? Now, you could do this yourself. You could choose different colors, different patterns. Mix it up. The more the merrier. It's just so cute like that. Mixing everything, even your ribbons. your scrapbook papers, what you outline your bunnies with, what you put on the ear of the bunny. Change it up. Use different patterns, different colors, different textures. This piece has so many possibilities. Okay, so I'm using Mod Podge to put my scrapbook paper on the front and the back of my bunnies. Now, I have had people suggest the Elmer's glue stick. I am going to try that. However, I seem to always forget to pick one up. I'll do that one of these days. I'll actually remember to try that. But for now, I just Mod Podged mine on the front and the back. Goes on very well like that. No ripples, no problems whatsoever. Very smooth application. Now I'm going to take my wood half rounds, the 3 of them that are going to be used for the nose on the bunnies, and I stick them to a piece of painter's tape and I painted them. I put a couple of coats so I would have a nice rich color of pink. Now I'm cutting out my whisker pieces. I'm going to need 3 pieces per bunny, and I cut them about 5 inches. I'm going to be curling them with a pencil. Nope, not a pencil, with a dowel. With a dowel, that's what I used. Okay, so I cut my pieces in 5-inch lengths around that, and something around that will be fine. And then later you're going to see me curl them. And I decided not to use a pencil for that. I used a little narrow dowel. All right, this is my wood piece that I make very small bows on. My son and I designed this, and he made it for me. I think it is so beautiful. I use this for creating single bows, small bows, but I can create different size bows on this piece. One of these days I'll do a video on it and show you how I do it and how we made it. So I'm going to be creating bows for the bunnies, and I take my ribbon. I only use narrow ribbons for this, and I wrap it around the dowels. I want my bow to be about 2 inches wide, so those are the dowel section that I chose. I crisscross it, put my thumb and my index finger on the crisscross, and then I just wrap the ribbon around the top, bring it around to the bottom, and tie a knot. And this creates the perfect little bow with a perfect little center with the ribbons facing the right way. And that's very important when you're using a ribbon that has one side that is the good side. But this is so easy to do. It slides right off the dowels, and you can make bows so fast using this. My son, who's so talented with woodworking, my other son is as well, made this piece for me, and he actually made it pretty. He stained it and just made everything to perfection, and I just love it. So I will be doing a video on that one day, so that you can see if you're interested at all in having this piece for yourself. So I have my 3 little bows all ready to go. I did 2 of them in the white ribbon with the flower print, and then the other one is just a plain white satin. Now I'm going to begin preparing my whiskers. Now, I wanted to show you that the pencil is a little bit thicker, and I did use that for my larger bunny from my wreath that I recently did, if you saw that. But now these bunnies are smaller, so I need a smaller coiled up whisker. So I used a dowel that's just slightly more narrow than a pencil. And I believe I picked that dowel up at the Dollar Tree in the Crafter's Square section. So what I do is I just place my, I'm going to show you that again, but I place my floral wire right at the center with my thumb and my index finger, and I wrap up one side all the way out to the tip. Then I wrap it up going the other direction. And then it simply slides right off, and now you have coiled whiskers. And I can't emphasize enough how adorable these are on these bunnies. Oh my goodness. But you've got to use a very lightweight wire for that. You don't want a heavy wire. You can I suggest using the 26 gauge wire. And I picked that up at the Dollar Tree. So I'm going to do something here to finish the sides of my bunny. Now you could do this or not do this. That's completely up to you. Now, I didn't find it necessary to do much trimming on my scrapbook papers, but if you do, I would just suggest using a pair of sharp scissors. You could just go around the edge of the bunny and trim that up. I didn't hardly have to do any. Okay, so I'm going to take this ribbon, and even though it's not exactly the width of the area of that bunny, I'm using it anyway because I think it looks fabulous on there. Again, I'm using the white ribbon with the stitching, and I'm using very, very scant amount of hot glue. I just take the nozzle of my hot glue gun, just kind of run it along the wood just to get the most tiny amount of glue because I don't want it to show through the ribbon. And I'm going to go around the perimeter of that bunny and wrap the entire bunny as well as the other two bunnies with that ribbon. Now for the two bunnies on the outside, I used the white ribbon with white stitching. For the one in the center, I just used a plain satin ribbon. You can mix that up. So, think about a variety in your materials. All right, so now we are going to start placing those whiskers on the bunny. So obviously, it's going to go in the center of that area of the face there. Now you're going to need a little tiny bit, maybe a 1/4 inch wide, flat area on that wire so that it will rest flat against the bunny. And so that when you go to place your half wood round, you're placing it on a flat wire surface rather than to have it coiled up, because you need for your bunny nose to lay flat on the face. So I just took my finger and flattened it out, but I'm going to show you another little trick here in a minute. I ended up deciding that a really good way to attach those wires and have that flat space right in the center, just enough for that nose to sit. I took that wood dowel that I curled all of those wires with, and I laid it vertically down the center of the face, and I just pressed it down, and that created a flat space, or it created an area where those wires are flattened out, so I could just put that wood half round in there. Now I just use very tiny amounts of glue. So now you can arrange your whiskers in whatever fun way that you like on your bunny, pointing upward, down. Yeah, look how cute that is. Now you can always trim them up later. Now I'm going to take that wood half round, and the paint's all dry, and I'm going to put hot glue on there. Press it down nice and firm. Make sure that it's flush on that bunny. That's why, again, I'm mentioning that you need to be sure your wire is flat there. Okay, so I have my bunny nose on. Now I'm going to show you here in just a second how I use that dowel to help me flatten out the wires in the center there. But first I'm going to show you how I popped my little teeny tiny little black buttons on my bunny for eyes. And these buttons worked great. They're in the sewing department at Hobby Lobby, as I mentioned. Now I'm going to use Aleene's tacky glue to attach those to the face. Hot glue is just too much for that task, so I would go with a tacky. Okay, so I'm showing you my ribbon on the sides. I love that ribbon because it covers up some of the blemishes on those wood pieces. It also adds a finishing touch on the bunnies. But they do, even though it's Hobby Lobby, there's a little bit of blemishes on them, a little bit of imperfections. And just wrapping them with that ribbon, oh, that is such a nice touch. Okay, so I'm putting those little bows on that I created. Now I'm going to really change it up for my bunnies. One of my bunnies is getting a bow at the neck. One of them is getting a bow right at the top of the head. And the other is getting a bow at the base of the ear. I used the ribbon with the white flowers on it. Those are for my bunnies on the sides, not the center bunny. Center bunny just has a plain satin narrow ribbon bow. Look how pretty that looks, and it's finished on all sides. Okay, here's what I wanted to tell you. Take your dowel and place it right down the center of the face and just press it down, and that will flatten out your wire very well. I'm going to show you that one more time. Little dab of glue for that third piece. I put 3 on each. So I put the dowel there, and then I just press it down with my fingers, and that really helps to flatten out that wire, just that little area that you need flattened out for the nose. That works really well. Okay, so all of my eyes are on, all of my noses are on, my whiskers, and my bows. Oh my goodness, the cuteness. And that's the order that they're going on the tray. Now, I'm going to be popping one of those little white flowers that I got in that package in the Paper Studio at Hobby Lobby. There they are. One in the center of each of those bows. Now, in that package, they have, some of them are just a flat white, and some of them have like a little shimmer. So I'm using the shimmery ones. Now, I can't stress enough how awesome the Paper Studio department is for little embellishments like this. When you're at Hobby Lobby, be sure you browse through that department and check it out. I was there just yesterday because I had to replenish my supply of these little flowers. I also got pink ones and yellow ones. But the pink wasn't quite right to put on these bunnies, so I went with the white. Now this is the finishing touch on these bunnies, with the exception of, at the end of the video, you're going to see I'm going to pop a white light in the eyes of the bunnies and a little swoosh of white over the nose. Other than that, these bunnies are done. And I am loving them. Okay, so here's our tray. Now I'm going to be putting the feet on, but I'm not going to put the feet on in like a square pattern. I'm going to tilt them on the curvature area of that tray, that oval tray. See how I tilted them? That's up to you, how you want to put yours. You could also use a nice size wood bead. You could create a feet by stacking up maybe 2 or 3 Jenga blocks and then painting those and put those there for feet. You could use the wooden spools that they sell at Hobby Lobby. Anything that you like for the feet. But I think the feet on the tray is a really nice touch. Okay, speaking of nice touches, oh my gosh, do I love this ribbon from Hobby Lobby. Now I'm taking a look here because I want to decide what colors am I going to include on my Easter eggs. So I decided on orchid, or a light, actually it's a light purple, I guess you could say, kind of toward the orchid side. But anyway, so I took all of my eggs and I put them on separate pieces of painter's tape so that I could access them well to do my decorating. And yes, I'm going to decorate these little tiny eggs. But let me tell you what a great design touch this is on this piece. You can do this very easily. Okay, so I found this little, I don't know what it came off of. It's kind of like a stick. I don't know. It's got a flat bottom. You need to find something like that. Maybe you'll have a paintbrush that has a flat bottom. Just something circular and very narrow with a flat bottom. And I just dip it in the paint and I'm putting polka dots on my eggs. Now I'm letting my painter's tape hold the eggs for me. Now, when I painted these eggs, I didn't paint the entire egg. The part that was stuck to the painter's tape when I spray painted them, I just didn't paint that. It's not necessary because it's going to be going, that's where it's going to be glued to the Excelsior. So I'm not worried about that. It'd be really difficult to paint these eggs if you had to try and do all sides, unless you waited for them to completely dry and then do that little area underneath. But I just didn't think it was necessary. And I usually go to, the extra mile for everything, but if I think it's necessary, but I just didn't. And I am a detail girl, so I wanted to paint my eggs, and I figured out the best, most efficient way possible, and that's what I'm sharing with you. Now, I'm also going to take a very fine tip paintbrush. 3 of my eggs are polka dotted. 2 of them, I drew some little squiggly lines, just with a very fine tip paintbrush. Now, if you're very steady-handed and very confident and you want to draw straight lines around your eggs, feel free. I just didn't want to take the chance on, having something crooked and then having to paint the egg over. And oh my goodness, yeah, I didn't want to do that. But so I put some little squiggle lines on a couple of my eggs in 2 different colors. And so that's how I decorated my eggs. I have 5 eggs. Now I'm going to go about gluing these adorable bunnies on this tray. Now these bunnies fit very nicely if you place them like this. The 2 on the outside are slightly tilted, and then the one in the center sits between them a little bit in front. Now I'm going to use Aleene's Tacky Glue, and I'm going to glue these to the tray. I ended up later putting a stream of glue at the very base of the back of each bunny, just to make sure that they sat there very well adhered until my Aleene's Tacky Glue dried. I'm not concerned about seeing the hot glue because we're going to be putting the Excelsior around the bunnies, all the way around. Notice I put the ones on the outside slightly toward the back, not all the way, but more toward the back because I'm making room for the eggs in the front, and I'm also going to put Excelsior in the back. So I'm just going to let that dry. And in the meantime, I am going to create 2 very pretty little mixed ribbon bows that are going to go on each side of that oval tray. Now for this bow, this is the base bow, I'm just going to do a figure 8. So I'm going to fold my loop under, fold it over. I want to say those loops are about 4 inches long. I hold it in the center with my thumb and my index finger, fold it under. This is what I call figure 8 bows, and I'm going to create 4 loops. 2 loops on each side, and I'm going to leave little tails around 3 inches, and then I can trim them up later if need be. I'm going to take my 26 gauge wire, floral wire from the Dollar Tree, wrap it around the center, pull it super tight, and cinch that up and gather it up there in the center, and that's going to create a very pretty base bow. I'm going to be doing 2 of these, obviously, I mentioned that. Then for my top bow, that's going to go on that bow, I'm going to use that very cute bunny ribbon. I'll be angling my tails, probably trimming that up later. Okay, that's the perfect size for that piece. All right, now for this bow, I'm going to use my method that I use for larger bows because I want a loop down the center of the bow. So I'm going to fold over my loops, pinch it in the center, twist my ribbon, fold it over, pinch it in the center, secure it with my thumb and my index finger, twist my ribbon, fold it over, pinch it in the center, twist, and fold it over. Now this is the method that I use for making larger bows. I have multiple tutorials in my playlist. If you would like to learn to make bows like I do, I think I'm going to do just a bow making video in the future, showing you how I make the bigger bows, mixed ribbon bows, how I make figure 8 bows, and how I make bows on my little wood block. So when I get done with all of my Easter decor, I'm going to show you, I'm going to probably do a video. Okay, so I'm going to form a center loop by just rolling that ribbon under, forming a small loop in the center, and then I take my wire and poke it through that loop so it will stay secure right in the center of that bow. Then I'm going to cut my ribbon loose from the spool, pop it right through that center loop, and marry up the tails on the bottom. Now, I had to do this method because I did not want to put a flower in the center of this bow. I felt that the flowers on the bunnies, that was enough. So I wanted to just create a loop. So in order to achieve that, I did my standard method that I do so often when I create bows. And I am going to take some floral wire and attach those two bows together, aligning them and making sure they're nice and even, and securing that wire in the back. And I'm going to snip that off because I'm going to be using hot glue to put that bow on that piece. So now I just have to do another bow exactly like that one for the other side. Now I love this ribbon because it really brings out the pink and the orchid and the eggs and on the bunny, of course, but it also introduces a couple of other colors just for visual interest. There's a blue on there, there's a green and yellow. And that just looks so pretty. Just adding that extra little touch of color on each side. Okay, so here's my green Excelsior. Now I'm going to show you that I have the natural color as well. You could use that, especially if you're doing a a farmhouse theme wreath. Oh my gosh, a farmhouse theme piece. I'm doing a lot of wreaths lately, so wreath is a common word in my vocabulary. Sorry about that. So you could use that natural color if you're doing like a farmhouse theme piece or country or rustic. Yeah, you don't have to use green, but green is good for this piece. All right, Excelsior is messy. Let's face it, it's just going to happen. So I just kind of knead my Excelsior a little bit, pull it apart with my fingers, kind of create a shape to go in that spot. Now that's just going to be hot glued right to the floor of my tray. And I am going to place that Excelsior all the way around the piece, and I'm going to have some pieces, little scraggly pieces falling over the beading. I'm going to have little scraggly pieces popping up around the bunnies. You know, you don't want it flattened out. You want it to have some visual interest. And then, of course, you got to clean up that mess that you made with the Excelsior, but that's okay because it's so worth it. for this piece. I'm going to be even making sure that I have a little bits and pieces in between the bunnies. Now I'm going to be putting my eggs in that Excelsior, so that's going to be the next thing that we're going to do, and I'm going to be hot gluing those eggs down, and I'll show you that here in just a minute. But I'm trying to tell you, you're going to put your Excelsior all the way around your piece, just like that. Okay, so we're going to be putting our Easter eggs on now. So I'm going to be doing like a dry run. I'm just putting them in the front, by the way, and I'm showing you here the back. See, it's all nice and finished. Everything all the way around this piece is finished. So you could place it anywhere and nothing is going to look unsightly or unfinished on this piece. So I'm going to take my 5 eggs and I'm going to just place them around. Now I want them to be poking different directions, poking upward, poking downward. And I want to make sure that my eggs are all different placed around. So what I mean by that is like a polka dot one, and then a one with the squiggle lines, and then a polka dot one, just to mix it up. So I'm going to figure out where I want to place all of my eggs, and then I'm going to use some hot glue, which is going to be on that little tiny area that didn't quite get covered with paint. So be sure you have it placed properly when you glue it down. I have Excelsior all over my hot glue gun. Look at that hot glue gun. What a mess. Oh my goodness. Yeah, I don't pay attention to my hot glue gun. When I'm working, I don't care. Whatever gets stuck to it, gets stuck to it. Because I'm intense when I'm crafting. I'm very, very intense. So yeah, the house could burn down around me. I'm joking. Really not that bad. But yeah, I get pretty focused. So yeah, but not for the house to burn down, though. Okay, being silly today. Okay, so I'm gluing in my eggs, and then I'm going to show you that, and then I'm going to put my bows on. Oh my goodness. This just took this up to another level of cute with those eggs in there. They were so worth the time to paint those little polka dots and squiggle lines. Okay, so I'm going to put my bows right on the outside curvature corners, if you will, of that oval. Now, any extra gluing to get the bows to set exactly the way I want, or the loops of the bow, I do that. And then I trim up the tails, which I don't dovetail. I just angle them. And oh yeah, I am really, really loving this piece. And I'd love to know what you think. And if you think you might want to make this one, and be thinking about how you could change it up. I'm here for inspiration and to offer alternatives. So I hope you're thinking about, how you would like to do it for yourself. Now I'm going to show you one more little thing here. Not quite 100% done here. I'm going to take a very fine tip paintbrush with a very tiny point. And I'm going to take my Snow White Waverly chalk paint, and I'm just going to put a white light in the eye, or the button, in other words, of my bunnies. Now it's going to be a very tiny white light in the eye, but to me it does make a difference. I also used another paintbrush, a little bit more of a small head on the brush, a little bit bristly, to create just a little bit of white swoosh over the nose of each of my bunnies. Now you can do this part or not do this part, but I think that the white light in the eye is a really great touch, a finishing touch on this piece. Now for the swoosh on the nose, again, that's completely up to you. That's what I'm doing here. But I use a very dry brush. I just was brushing it over a rag. There I'm showing you. Make sure that you have a very dry brush. And it's just very vague, but there's just something about that touch. I do it often on characters that I do. Just a little vague white swoosh over the nose. And that is our project all complete. Yeah, I love it. And I'd love to know, if you were to do this project, what would you do with it? Would you create a different platform? What colors would you make it? What kind of scrapbook papers would you use? What would you do to your eggs? I love your comments. Share with me. I just love it. Okay, if you're not currently a subscriber, I hope you will become one. Give this video a thumbs up. Show this video to your friends and family. And until next time, you all take care.